So, in the earlier class, we have studied about a private limited company. Now, what do you mean by a public company? What does 2013 Act say about the public companies? We shall study about that. Public company. According to Companies Act 2013, public company means a company which is not a private company. A public company has most of the characteristics of a private limited company. The registration of a public company is subject to strict compliances of the Act of 2013. Further, if the company has a vision of huge capital investment, it can go for public company registration. A public limited company is a joint stock company. It is governed under the provisions of the Indian Companies Act 2013. So, what do you mean by a public company? Public company means which is not a private company. Then, which has the characteristics. In a public limited company, it shall have most of the characteristics like the private limited company which we have studied, but there shall be some strict compliances which shall be followed according to 2013. Then if the company has a vision to become a public company, in that case it shall have huge capital investment firstly. Then it shall require the registration for a public company, and it shall be similar to, or it shall be called as a joint stock company also, and it shall be governed under Companies Act 2013. Now we shall study what are the advantages of a public company. Firstly, no limit on membership. As we have studied that there is no limit on membership. While there is no limit on the number of members, it is formed by the association of persons voluntary. This is a voluntary association with the purpose of having profit. No restrictions on transfer of shares. Transferability of shares have no restriction. The shares of a public limited company are easily transferable. Shares of the company are listed on the stock exchange. The shareholders find it easy to transfer the shares in the company. This may result into making people more willing to invest. Since there is no restriction of transfer, it is easy to make people ready for transferring the shares from them to other person, and it is easy to for people to buy these shares also, and to make people more willing to invest in their company. Further, raising a capital through public subscription permitted. The company can invite public for subscription of shares and debentures. The term public limited is added to its name and the time of incorporation. In this way, a company can explore an unlimited source of rising fund through public. So, what do you mean that public? We shall take money from the public for starting this company, and we shall show them that how much is the capital, what is the main aim of the business, how shall the business function, what shall be the benefit which we shall be giving to the company, and many other such factors. So it is very easy to raise capital in this case of public company compared to private company. Next, growth and expansion opportunities. Because of having capacity to raise capital from public limited company can start new projects, products, and enhance business. It can make acquisitions of other companies, acquire funds for research and development, and replace existing debt with new debt on better terms. Registration with 7 shareholders and 3 directors possible. See, in the earlier point it says that growth and expansion opportunities. It shall have, being a public company, it shall have the opportunity because more and more people will be investing in the company. As the company is doing profits, or as company's goodwill increases, there will be people who will be buying shares, and it shall boost the company's funds, and which shall help in growth and expansion. Then next is registration with 7 shareholders and 3 directors possible. So for public limited company registration, a minimum of 7 shareholders and 3 directors are required. Shareholders can be individual companies or LLPs, but only individuals can become directors of the company. It is not necessary that the director shall be the shareholder of the company, and shareholders need not necessarily be the directors of the company. So what does this state? That there shall be minimum 7 shareholders and minimum 3 directors, 3 directors to start the business. Then in this case, shareholders can be individuals, jointly owned shareholders, or can be any other persons, but only individuals can be directors of the company. And it is not necessary that the person who is a shareholder has to be the director of the company. I am having certain funds which I want to invest, so in that case I will invest. I will be the only shareholder of the company. I don't want to be the director of the company. So it is not important that every person who is investing in the company has to become a director or has to become a person who is working in the company. It can be only that a person is a shareholder. Further, we shall say limited liability of shareholders. In public company, the liability of the shareholder and director is limited to the extent of the shares they hold in the company. For example, if the company suffers from any financial contingencies because of primary business activity, then in such case, personal assets of the shareholders and directors will not be taken away by the banks, creditors, and government, because they have limited liability. So in this case, no director or shareholders personal property will be into risk. Only the property or only the amount which he has invested in the company shall be used by the company for paying the losses or debts, or in case of winding up of the company. Separate legal entity. Directors and shareholders may come and go, but the existence of the company continues to exist. Means what? That the directors, the shareholders may come into the company or may go, but the existence of the company shall continue forever. Greater transparency. Because of public involvement, the company publishes its statutory details reports to maintain greater transparency, and due to this, shareholders get accurate information of the company's current financial position. So there is a greater transparency. Means what? That these public whatever is done in these companies, it shall be known by the public, because they have to maintain transparency since public amount is involved in your company. Then easier to maintain brand name. Being a public company, it can establish and maintain its brand name. Listing the shares of the company in the stock exchange enhances the brand position and reputation of the company. So since every public company is a listed company, so it is very important, and it is very easy to establish and maintain a brand name. We have so many companies which are listed and which have a brand in themselves. It may be any, whether it is established in India, whether it is established outside India. We shall see how foreign companies work in the further period. Next, we have disadvantages of a public company. What do you mean by disadvantages of a public company, and how do public companies have certain disadvantages which make it little complex? So firstly, we have complex procedure of registration. Public company registration is a complex procedure as it requires proper documentation. So we have seen in the distinguished that for incorporating a public company, we required 5 points. That is, first one, it required a prospectus. Then it required members to be promotion stage. Then further, we had many such processes, and then we had incorporation or commencement of the business. Then we have strict compliances. The working of the public company is subject to more strict compliances of the provisions of the Companies Act 2013. Example, the issue of prospectus or statement and calling of statutory annual general meeting is mandatory in case of public company. Too much of legal formalities further lead to delay in every decision of the public limited company. There are many strict provisions which are related and which are given in the Companies Act 2013. That is, they have to issue a prospectus, they have to carry out a compulsory annual general meeting for public companies. So they feel that there are many legal formalities and many many things that lead to delay of the public company. Further, we have next point, lack of flexibility. Flexibility helps company to grow and function at ease, but in the case of the public company, there is no such advantage. Every public company has to follow so many rules and regulations which result in lack of flexibility in its operations. But there is not flexibility because so many people are involved, so many people are working with it. So in this case, there will be certain lack of flexibility. Then we have no secrecy. To maintain the transparency and trust of the shareholders, the company has to make full disclosures to public, due to which secrecy cannot be maintained. Since the more the number of people, the more the number of secrets are disclosed to every person. So in public company, there is not much scope for maintaining secrecy. The public is involved in decision making, and hence it becomes difficult to maintain the secrecy. Not suitable for small industries. A public limited company is only favorable to large scale businesses, and may not be suitable to small scale industries. So these are not suitable for small scale business, because you already so many people are investing, so there you shall be having a huge amount of capital. So having a huge amount of capital and having a small business may not be helpful, so it is not suitable for small business. Then we have more investment. Registering and functioning as a public company requires a huge cost. To start a public company, huge investment, time, and procedural things are required to be complied with. A lot of money has to be invested in order to prepare reports and disclosures that match with the regulations provided by SEBI. The profit of the company is dependent upon the investment done. So since there is a huge investment, so there is a huge the company requires huge cost for everything. So there whether it is required for investment, for time, for things to be proceeded, that is certain reports which are to be disclosed, and other reports which have to be matched with the regulations provided by SEBI. So in this case, the profit of the company is morely dependent upon the investment done by the investors. Depending upon one's requirement, a type of company is chosen to be registered. However, the principal reason for choosing a public company is to be able to offer shares to public. And for this reason, public company has to comply so many rules and regulations at the cost of considerable loss of privacy. So since public interest is involved, and since public is investing in the company, it is required for the public company to have huge amount of investment and huge amount of rules and regulations to be followed. So this in return affects the privacy of the business. Now next we have special privileges and exemptions available to private companies. The Companies Act has provided certain privileges and also some exemptions to the private companies. The basic reason is that the public money is not involved in such companies. Therefore, public accountability of such companies is comparatively less. Now certain exemptions or privileges which are given to private company. So what are they? That the basic reason of giving them these privileges or exemptions is that there is less amount involved, that is less public amount is involved. Only 200 members, so 200 people will be investing into the business. Therefore, public accountability of companies is comparatively less. So they don't have to report anything to the public. They are not answerable to the public in any cost. So some of the privileges are: firstly, membership. It may have only 2 members. So it states that a private company may have only 2 members. Then prospectus or statement in lieu of prospectus. Share can be allotted by a private company without issuing a prospectus. So prospectus and all is not required, and company can privately issue money and get money from the public. Quorum. If articles don't provide for quorum of larger number, it is 2 members personally present for the meeting. So only 2 members is required to be personally present for the meeting. If article states that there shall be 10 members, 12 members, according to that, the company has to function. But if quorum is not mentioned, in the articles, in that case, 2 members shall be personally present at the meeting. Then next we have number of directors. The minimum number of directors is 2. Then we have statutory report. Now statutory report is to be filed with the registrar of companies. That is, we have seen these points earlier. Then next we have commencement of business. It can commence its activities immediately after incorporation. Certificate for commencement of business is not necessary, but commencement of declaration is required to be filed. So the certificate of commencement is not required in case of private, but in case of public company, it is compulsory to have a certificate of commencement. Only then company has the right to start its own business. After that, we have share capital. It may issue share capital of such kinds in such forms and with such voting rights as it may think fit. So there is no requirement or there is no specification about what type of capital, how much and in what details the capital is required. Then easy to raise capital. With the number of members being increased to 200, it will increase the ability of private company to raise capital. Earlier in the Companies Act 1956, we had 50 members. Now they have increased it to 200 members. Now what will happen is the amount of capital also will increase with the amount of members in the company. Next we have management remuneration. Now the rule of maximum managerial remuneration is not applicable to a private company which is not a subsidiary of a public company. However, in the case of a private company which is subsidiary of a public company, the total managerial remuneration should not exceed 11% of the net profits. The total remuneration above 11% of the net profit can be paid only with the approval of the central government. So they have given certain restrictions about how the remuneration shall be paid to the managers and directors only in case the private company is not a subsidiary of any public company. Next we have general meetings. The provisions of section 101 to section 107 relating to holding of general meetings are not applicable to a private company to the extent to which the company has made its own provisions in its articles. In other words, a private company may hold its general meeting by giving a notice shorter than 21 clear days. It may provide its own rules in its articles regarding election of chairman, proxies, manners of taking votes and the contents of notice. However, the articles of the private company does not provide for such matters specifically, and the provisions of sections 101 to 109 are equally applicable to the private companies. So regarding general meetings, in the earlier 1956 act, they had certain rules and regulations, but now they have removed those rules and regulations and they say for general meeting we need only 21 clear days notice which is to be given to the board of directors and to the shareholders. And more they say about the proxies, about the chairman, then voting and the contents of the notice. All this shall be stated in the articles of the private company, but even the private company cannot provide such matters specifically. Then for the sake of convenience, we can classify private companies into two: dependent and independent. Now what do we mean by dependent and what do you mean by independent? A company which is subsidiary of a public company may be called as a dependent company. On the other side, a company which is not subsidiary of a public company may be called as an independent company. So, what does this mean? That a subsidiary of a public company is called as a dependent company. But on the other hand, a company which is not a subsidiary of any public company may be called as an independent company. Next, we have dependent company is being controlled by the public company. Hence, by and large, it is treated as a public company only and gets comparatively less privileges than those of the independent company. In other words, independent private companies enjoy some additional benefits which are as follows. Now we shall be studying about the independent private companies. Privileges of a private company which is not subsidiary of a public company. So what does this mean? So we shall be studying about regarding the directors and regarding the shares. So privileges of a private company which is not a subsidiary of a public company, that is independent private company. Regarding the directors, we shall be studying about regarding the directors. Provisions regarding appointment, reappointment, and retirement by rotation do not apply. These provisions do not apply to a private company, but they apply to a public company. For increasing the number of directors beyond the limit fixed in the Articles of Association, permission of the government is not required. So the number of directors can be increased in the even if they have stated certain number in the Articles of Association. In that case, government's permission is not required. No restriction on number of private companies to be managed by the director. No, you need not have what to say, no restriction is there on the number of private companies to be managed by a director. Also, a person can become a managing director of more than one company without any restriction. His tenure as managing director may extend beyond a period of 5 years. So, we have seen in the public company that a board of directors shall be a member for 5 years, and after that he shall retire or he shall have a second consecutive 5-year term. But this rule does not apply in case of private company. In a board meeting, a director can participate in discussion and cast his vote on a contract in which he is personally interested. So, if there is a board meeting and he is a board of director of the company, in that case, he can participate in the decision and cast his vote on contract in which he is personally interested. No restriction on loans to directors. There is no restriction on how much loans is to be given to the directors. Restriction regarding managerial remuneration are not applicable. There shall be no rules or restriction regarding managerial remuneration. Further, the company may provide additional disqualifications for appointment of directors. It may also provide additional grounds for vacation of office by a director. In this manner, the company can select favored persons as directors. All the directors of a company may be appointed by a single resolution. No resolution on the powers of the board to sell or dispose of the whole or part of the undertaking. We have studied all these points in detail. This is just a part of the syllabus. Regarding the shares. Now what shall be regarding the shares? An independent private company may issue shares of different kinds and it may attach varying voting rights to different shares within the same class of the shares. It has privilege to issue deferred shares with disproportionate voting rights. It can avail functional assistance for purchase or subscription towards its shares. Means what? That in an independent private company, there can be different rights to different classes of shareholders. So they can have disappropriate voting rights, and it can also avail financial assistance for purchase or subscription towards its shares. Now we shall be studying about a private company and a public company, that is conversion of a private company into a public company or a public company into a private company in the next class, as it is a deep concept and I shall require time to explain it. So we shall take it in the next class. So we shall stop here.